Hey, good afternoon again, Puckheads. It's your buddy Choppadong. I am coming at you with a DFS Diary version for NHL. Today we've only got a three-game slate. We're going to make this really quick, really simple, but I do want to at least show you our research station in hopes that you consider becoming a VIP inside DFSArmy.com. It's really and truly a one-stop shop for everything daily fantasy sports related, from MMA to PGA to all of those sports. The ones I happen to cover are the big ones: NHL, MLB, NBA. Don't really cover NBA as an expert, but I will at least show you the tools and how to point you in the right direction. NFL is coming down to kind of a conclusion this year, and so naturally, I'm going to give you one final tip here today on December 21st, and that's why you would want to play year round. If you're just an NFL guy, you're not watching this video anyway. But if you're an NFL guy, a lot of times people don't realize that they drop off and then they take 9 months off and then they come back. NBA and NHL and MLB and PGA and those types of things keep you in a fantasy mindset, keep you in a daily fantasy mindset, and that's going to make your overall game better. You're going to learn tips and techniques and strategies, game theory, contrarianism, whatever it is, throughout the rest of the year as you're building these different lineups. And NHL is a perfect sport for learning to be contrarian. If you're a pretty chalky player like me, it's a game that can teach you how to spot those chalky places and get off of them and get rewarded for doing so. So that made me, when I started learning NBA, baseball, whatever, made my NFL game better. And I thought that was really strange at first, but then I started understanding why, and it was because I was focused year round. I was learning new things, studying new techniques, always interacting with coaches like we have inside DFSArmy.com. So if you want to become a VIP, head down into the bottom of the comments there, click the link, use coupon code CHOP, CHOP, and become a member today. We've got plenty of time to get you in here, get you making lineups today and bantering back and forth with the coaches, helping you become a better player today. So let's dive in to the research station for hockey tonight. You see we've got three games. You can see the pretty little pictures up here with Chicago playing Colorado, Buffalo playing Washington, and Ottawa playing New Jersey. You can see a ton of pretty little statistics, from what's their home record, their road record, what's the last 10 games look like, the last 10 games on the road, etc. You can see Ottawa's 3-7 last 10 road games, which isn't necessarily great. Not that 4-2-4 is phenomenal for New Jersey at home. So this game is more or less an indicator that we've got two crappy teams playing each other, which could sometimes turn into a shootout bonanza. On a three-game slate like tonight, that sometimes is enough to win you a decent amount of money in a tournament, because it gets you away from the chalk. It gets you away from where everybody else might be going. Now, we haven't even dug into this slate to even know if that's a viable idea or not. It's just something that I recognize and I see, and I figured it might as well be worth telling you guys. Sometimes taking that off game on a slate and game stacking it in a three-game slate is enough to get you away from everybody and win when it works out for you. That's what you're trying to do inside hockey. It's a very volatile sport. When everybody runs in a channel kind of independent of their price, you've got your third line punts that can put in 2 goals and an assist or a hat trick or something like that and score 40 some odd points. It's not unheard of for it to happen. And you've got your studs like your Alexander Ovechkins or somebody that are $8,000-9,000 players that can get you a zero. When that happens, your salary cap is less important. It's really just there to keep you from stacking up all of the top line guys. It's really not as important, because if all the second line guys throughout the league do the damage that night, and it happens, that's the type of situation that is going to leave a lot of salary cap space on the table, and you're going to wonder why that guy is still up there on the leaderboards. You wouldn't think that he would be, with leaving so much on the table, but you just don't have to fill your cap in a volatile sport like hockey or baseball or some of those other sports. In NBA, I think it's a little bit silly to leave a ton of money on the table, but in these other sports, man, be my guest. You can see a little bit of the Reds here. Chicago's not running that well. I mean, that shouldn't be front page news to a hockey player. You can see some of these other situations that we're talking about. But let's dive over to the goalie tab here real quick, and let's show you why we might pick our goalies in 2 seconds or less. We look at the percentage win chance right here. This is the percent. It goes a little bit by Vegas, but this particular page in our research station also shows a little bit of a matchup assessment with that actual goalie and his save percentage and his track record. And it actually shows, if I click over to Daily Fantasy Nerd, which is my little favorite backup site, you can see Philip Grubauer has a 69% chance to win tonight based on the Vegas money lines. However, we've got him down here at a 56% chance to win Probably because he's the backup goalie. Probably because he's not as talented as Varlamov is, or Varlamov, however you pronounce the guy's name. And the whole idea there is that this game might be a little bit more up for grabs than you would normally think. Now, take that for what it's worth. I'm usually looking for a strong win chance, and then I'm looking for the goalies that are costing me the least in that situation. And that, in this case, would be Grabauer. So here we landed on the same guy, no matter what it is that we did. You have to pardon the noise in the background. I've got a crazy dog who sees kids running around home on Christmas break, and you've been lucky to get the 2 or 3 videos out of me that you've gotten as quiet as they have been, because this has been a pretty chaotic household today, and I don't have a soundproof studio. Um, and I guess bringing that up, I've got an NFL video out. If you scroll up a little bit through my YouTube channel, that's an easy one. Hit the like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell. You get every video that I drop when I drop it. NFL's out today for box checkers for Week 16. NBA just dropped, and those are also in the DFS Diary pinned tweet that I put out on Twitter. When we jump back in, whoop, there's the article I'm editing, getting ready to drop this video in it when I get the chance. And what we're looking for again is cheap goalies at high win percentages. And then I typically just take one to lock one in. I don't know if tonight I feel secure enough in Grabauer to lock him in. I might alternate with a little bit of Holtby or Anderson or something like that. But when it comes to goalies, I don't dig too deep. I use a couple of those key indicators and I move on. When I'm looking at skaters, however, I'm going to dip over here into Daily Fantasy Nerd. I'm going to click on the Centers tab, and then I'm going to sort by goals scored or implied team total tonight. 3.87 for Colorado, number 1 on the slate. Number 2 on the slate, Washington. Number 3, New Jersey. Those are the favorites in all 3 of these games. I would highly recommend in GPPs that you stack against the chalk. But if, and these are going to be the chalk, if you decide to play a little bit contrarian, take Ottawa, take Buffalo, do something like that, take Chicago. Nobody's going to take Chicago. Grabauer probably be a pretty popular goalie. You stack up Chicago and they end up scoring 4 goals and Grabauer doesn't get the win. Guess what? You're sitting pretty high on some leaderboards if you've got the guys doing the damage. That's an easy thing to do on a hockey slate. It's an easy way to learn to be contrarian and to learn to ride the variance roller coaster that goes with it. I'm going to, however, cut this down to just the favorites tonight, just to show you what it is that I'm talking about doing. When I get bigger slates, this is a lot of what I do. So it was New Jersey and it was Washington. Those were my big 3, right? Let me blow this up a little bit for you. Expand it just a touch. Make it a little bit bigger for you. Let's go one more. So I've got my 3 favorites. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sort this sheet. I'm going to scroll over and sort by. Now, do you want to do cash games or do you want to do just pure scoring? Let's do just pure scoring today. Well, instead of shots on goal and block shots, which we talked about yesterday, let's just go pure buyers and sellers, and we'll sort the FanDuel last 10 games. We'll sort that by, actually, you know what, today, let's do DraftKings today. A lot of you guys that run on DraftKings always tell me, you center so much on FanDuel. Let's do DraftKings today for hockey. Why not? Goalies probably didn't change. The salaries didn't change a ton. But I've got this sorted now by DraftKings fantasy production over the last 10 games. And I'm going to jump over here, and I'm going to be watching the last 5 games. Oops, see, I'm automatically going to the FanDuel column. I'm going to be watching the last 5 games on DraftKings. And I'm going to try and spot a little bit of value. So forgive me if I keep going back to FanDuel. It's just a habit of mine. The first thing I'm going to try and do when this loads back up is I'm going to kick off just the defenseman. And let's see if we can't find some cheap guys that are up there that might be producing right now. Because that's kind of the idea. There's a couple, 3,900, Severson, down a little bit more. I was really hoping might find a low 3 guy. Orlov's okay. Butcher, Ian Cole, whatever. There's a $2,500 guy in Bowie, but he's on the 3rd defensive pairing, so that's not great. 2,700, 3rd defensive pairing for Namath. Not great. So we might have to play this one pretty straightforward if we don't dip into an underdog type of situation. But what generally happens on DraftKings especially is you can hit value with cheap defensemen on just shots and blocked shots alone. And what we would focus on there is we can see these guys running at 5, 4, 3. So there's not a lot of production, honestly, coming out of the defensemen tonight. But we can look at who's running hot and who's running cold. I see 3.8 for Tyson Barrie. He's back on track. He'd been dipping a little bit lately. So this 5-game number is probably actually coming back up. It's probably getting ready to cross over this 10-game number. So I would say Barry's probably a buy signal tonight. 2.6 versus 2.9 is close in Kempney. 1.5 is cold for Severson. 2.1 is getting back towards the $10 game baseline for Vatanen. 2.4 is the same for Andy Green. Don't see there's one that should be running a little bit hotter in Eric Johnson in Colorado. 1.8, 1.8 over Bowie a little bit. Okay, so we don't have any monster slam dunk plays tonight, at least not in the three favorites. But you get an idea in the sense, if you haven't ever heard me say it before, I take the last 10 games as a baseline. And those are my moving average. Those are the guys that are steadily producing right now. And I take the last 5 games and I compare it to the last 10. If this number is bigger than this number, it's a buy signal. It means the guy's running hot. It means that their price is not necessarily catching up to their production right now. Therefore, they are a value play for me. And then when it crosses back below this number here, in some of the cases, they're a sell. I don't want anything to do with them because, again, their prices don't come down nearly as quickly as they go up, which tells me that they need to be, that their price needs to come down for me to want to play them at the current level that they're producing. Therefore, they're a little bit overpriced. Makes sense? That's basically what we're looking for. And we didn't really spot a lot in the defensemen, so that kind of stinks. But if we kick over into the centers, you can see some of the big names. Again, we're going to look for the out-of-price guys. There's one in Soderberg. He's always a decent play. Cash safe play typically. Zajac in New Jersey is interesting as well. With only 3 options to choose from, we really don't have a lot. That's partly why we were stinking it up with the defensemen. Let's take a look in here at the centers though. 7, 5, 4.5, 3, 3, almost 3, 2, 2. So looking for over 2, 2.3 in Comfer. 2.9 in Lars Eller. Is that Eller? No, that's Zajac. Okay, we already kind of had Zajac pointed out. 2.4 versus a 3.0. Hischier, not so great. 1.7 is probably a sell signal. Under the 3.0 average for Carl Soderberg. So that's interesting because I said that was a pretty good number and a pretty decent play, but it looks like Soderberg's dropped off this last 5 games. Therefore, he's a little bit overpriced right now. I don't know that I would play him tonight. Kuznetsov at a 4.4 is right about on his 10-game average. Nicholas Backstrom is below his 10-game average, another kind of a sell signal. On a short slate, you may have to take him to complete a stack or something, but on a larger slate, it would be a clear sell signal and somebody I would probably stay away from. 9.1 running over his 5-game or his 10-game average. Nathan MacKinnon running hot again, probably pretty key on this particular slate, being that it's a short slate. He's going to cost you, but he's probably key. He's probably somebody we're going to need to want to pay up for. When I kick into the wings here, left and right wing, round out the research station here pretty quickly. Another thing that I've shown before is not the implied scoring chance, but the percentage of teams scoring. 62% Mikko Rantanen. 62% of the time, Mikko Rantanen factors into the scoring of the Colorado Avalanche. That's a ridiculous number. It was down around 40-something percent just a few weeks ago. So that is really, really odd. I would obviously be running him and MacKinnon unless I see a sell signal here. 7.5, 9.0. This number is higher than this number. Buy. So MacKinnon and Rantanen and probably Landeskog 8.9, 7.2. Buy. If you can find the value elsewhere in the slate, even if you have to dip into some underdogs, if you run that number 1 line in Colorado out there, MacKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, you probably set yourself up for a pretty cash safe type of night tonight. Even though it's a stack, you just can't have Colorado fall flat on their face. They score 2, 3, 4 goals, you probably got pieces of a few of them, and that's going to set you up in cash games. Ovechkin is 6.9 on a 6.3. He's running a little bit hot himself. Tom Wilson is cooled off, probably being dropped to line 2 had something to do with that. 3.9 on a 4.6. Kyle Palmieri's dropped off. Taylor Hall is about the same, so Taylor Hall is a buy tonight. 3.9 on a 2.9 on a 3.6. Johansson's probably a sell. Bratt probably a sell. Oshie probably a sell. Brett Connolly probably a buy. Now that's interesting. Let's run over here and check the line that he's on. Brett Connolly, 3rd line, 2nd power play unit. Very interesting. 4,400. There's a possible cheap value play for you tonight. He's clearly running hot, and you might want to take advantage of that. Got to go over a little bit more for DraftKings here. Let's look. 3.6 should be Connolly. That's where we left off. Down to 2.7 here. Travis Boyd. Don't see anybody else really tearing it up. So you're going to have to take some of these little even Stevens where this is a 2 or 2.2 and this is close to a 2. That's where you might end up needing to take some value tonight, take a little bit of a gamble. You can see why 3-game slates are very, very volatile because they don't offer a lot in a lot of cases. Everybody sees the same thing in that top line in Colorado. Therefore, it opens you up in GPPs where the chalk in hockey fails more often than anywhere else. Playing the GPP style, you might fade those guys. If you fade those guys and go into, say, Washington and stack them up, or go into New Jersey and stack them up, or Buffalo or something like that, and you end up correct and the chalk fails, you have a much easier path to the top of the leaderboards and in a lot of cases can win tournaments on lower scores. That's one way to get the job done. If you like this kind of stuff, you like this kind of advice, click the like, click the subscribe button down there at the bottom, ring the notification bell, get yourself a little update on your phone that I dropped another video, because if you weren't ready for it today, I dropped 3 of them, and NBA, NFL included. But if you really want to talk a little bit deeper, you need to become a VIP inside DFSArmy.com. Run down to the comment section, click the link, hit coupon code CHOP, CHOP, trigger that 10% off for yourself. I'm going to remind you for the 3rd time today, it's Paycheck Friday. You got a little extra blingy bling in your pocket. You need to jump on in here and become a VIP. We can get you set up, open, and ready to rock and roll for tonight's slates, hopefully building some lineups. If you saw the NBA optimizer, we've got one for NHL too. You can start poking and playing with those tools, get yourself set up for the weekend right before Christmas. And then, of course, just tell your wife that was your stocking stuffer for that, $40 or whatever the cost ends up being in the investment in your own game. Because after all, happy wife, happy life. And one of the ways to have a happy wife is to win yourself a GPP. So come in here and learn how to do it inside DFSArmy.com. I'm your buddy Choppadong. This has been a weekend edition. I'm out of here. We'll talk to you guys inside the Slack channels. Take care.